It's not one thing beating the Orlando Magic these days. It's a bunch of little things adding up and preventing them from being their best. Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 20th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic are fighting the good fight. They are trying. They don't have enough, and it's just little mistakes building up over and over and over and over again that cost them. The ones that cost the Magic the loss to the Denver Nuggets, and why the Magic just have to keep plowing through until they are healthy today on Locked On Magic. Before we do any of that, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is sponsored by Prize Picks. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. The Orlando Magic's 113-100 loss to the Denver Nuggets followed a similar pattern. We've seen this pattern play out over the last 3 or 4 games. We've seen this pattern play out really for the last 2 weeks since Jalen Suggs was injured and since Goga Bitadze injured his hip and then suffered a concussion and has been in the concussion protocol. The Magic are struggling. They're struggling with injuries. They're struggling with what looks like fatigue. They're struggling with perhaps an illness going through the team. Corey Joseph was sick, and other players certainly looked sick too. Only way to explain the sluggishness of the team and the lack of energy of the team. But more than that, the Magic are struggling right now with a margin for error that is too small to deal with the opponents they are facing. It's not that the Magic can't win these games. They can beat all the teams in the league. But beating a team like the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, even when you're healthy, takes playing well. Now, better teams can make some mistakes and get away with it. This Magic team, as they are constructed, with a superstar who is on a minute restriction and still working his way back from playing for the first time in 2 months. A team that is down to virtually 9 healthy players. Down 3 starters from their typical starting lineup. Down their main creators and the main forces that drive them. Down their energy spark plugs on their vaunted defense. A team that is missing this much cannot make mistakes. Plain and simple. We've talked about this a million times on this show over the years. There are 6 or 7 things the Magic got to do well to win games. And against a team like Denver, they got to do all 6 or 7. So when they miss threes, when they miss free throws, when they give up foul shots, when they can't defend effectively, this is a team that doesn't have another way to win. They've got one way. And if they can't do it, they will not win. Certainly not against an opponent like the Denver Nuggets. So when you look at the box score and you see the Magic make more threes in Denver, make 5 more threes in Denver, that's 15 points they make up on the Nuggets. Turn the ball over 7 times. The Magic are a crazy high turnover team. They didn't turn it over. Forced 21 turnovers for 23 points. That's a feeder for the Magic. That is usually a sign of their activity on defense and what they're doing well. When they get 16 offensive rebounds and score 20 second chance points. When they get 17 fast break points, even turning those turnovers and their defensive efforts into points. This is a formula for a Magic win. as down and as dour as we are and should be after a third straight blowout loss, the Magic are doing some good things. Things that will be fine when they are healthy. But when they are not healthy, it is 1,000 tiny cuts. It is 1,000 tiny things that build up to something this team cannot overcome. The Magic are bloodied, battered, and beaten right now. They are fighting everything. They are trying their best to stay in these games. And they played a great first half. They had the effort that they needed. They defended well enough. They gave themselves that chance. They left that door open. And then when they reached back in for the second half, when they locked back in for the second half, it wasn't there anymore. Playing 48 minutes against elite competition, this team doesn't have that unless the elite competition leaves that door open. And Denver did not leave the door open. This game essentially ended in the final 2 minutes of the third quarter. Orlando led for most of the first half. They did everything right. They gave up a little bit of a run. They trailed by 3 at halftime. No big deal. You're still in the game. You just got to keep contact. Then Denver opened the lead back up to 6, 7, 8 points. Bad, but not the end of the world. Just can't let it get to 15, 16. And then over the final 2 minutes of the third quarter, the whole thing unraveled. Paolo Banchero cut the deficit to 6 on an and one basket. Great play. Energy creating play. Except Denver came back to the other end. Jamal Murray got by Anthony Black, was fouled on his shot attempt, made the shot, brought the lead back to 9. Paolo comes back down, takes a bad jumper. Murray, after 2 offensive rebounds, Murray gets a 3. Magic come back to the other end. Paolo takes another bad shot, and Murray hits a jumper to end the quarter. The Magic go from down 6 to down 16 in 2 minutes. 10-0 run by Jamal Murray. That is the ball game. This team just does not currently have the offensive force or the offensive consistency to come back from a deficit against a quality team like Denver like that. The Magic's offense went in fits and starts. It had some great moments. It had some bad moments. And Orlando just doesn't have enough. They need confidence. They need things to go their way, and they just aren't. And as these mistakes pile up and pile up and pile up, it's too much for this group to overcome. It's not for lack of effort. I'll only question the effort to say I am seeing a lot of bad body language where missed shots repeatedly over time and heavy deficits are weighing on this team. And that's what makes things worse. But the Magic were in this game and had every opportunity with about 2 minutes to play in the third quarter, and then gave the game away in a single moment. And then gave the game away fairly quickly. That can't happen against these elite teams. And we'll talk more about the bigger implications and all of that coming up here in a minute. But the Magic know they have to be better. The Magic know that they have to play better to give themselves a chance. Unfortunately, the schedule lightens up a little bit. Not to overlook Toronto, who beat Boston last week. Not to overlook Portland, who is very talented offensively. And not to overlook Detroit, one of the best stories in the league. The Magic should, even in this state, be competitive and beat those teams. But plain and simple, the Magic can't beat the Celtics, the Bucks, the Nuggets as they currently are. To do that, they need Paolo playing at peak Paolo. And Paolo is not peak Paolo. We'll get to the box score here in a minute. He is not peak Paolo. They need everybody playing well. And there are pockets that the Magic look really good. I'm not going to completely write off this game and say it was all bad. But unlike the other times during this stretch when the Magic have been injured, things snowball to a bad place. This is what bad teams do, to be perfectly honest. And right now, the Magic are not a good team. They're looking for confidence. They're looking for their way. They're looking to play the way they know they are capable of playing. And with the prospect of health coming back and some injured players returning, they know that the light is at the other end of the tunnel. But getting there is a struggle. Because right now, the Magic can't afford to make mistakes, even small ones, even ones that aren't really in their control. And they're making them over and over and over again. And right now, it's just impossible for them to overcome. We're going to go over the box score first before I get to my bigger point of the day that we've been here before. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and there is no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron James is going to drop 30 points, or maybe Luka's getting more than 8 assists. Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I'm a big Prize Picks player. It is my go-to daily fantasy game when I want to play daily fantasy. And frankly, I have a blast. I'm able to put together groups even through multiple sports. So you can get your NFL action. You can maybe some college football action in. Do multiple sports. And frankly, you don't even need to get all of your picks right to win. It's not like some of those other daily fantasy sites. You have a really good chance to get your money back if you know the right picks. And with Prize Picks' flex play option, even if one of your picks doesn't hit, you can still double your money. Plus, once you hit, you get your money fast, sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. It's honestly the best way to keep the game exciting. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win. Get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's go through the box score here in our second segment first before we get to a bigger point that I want to make that's going to hopefully calm you down a little bit. Again, we'll talk more about that. I want to save that for the last segment. But the Orlando Magic fall to the Denver Nuggets 113-100. And there are some good showings here. There were some good games, but there's just a lot of weird. And again, like I want to try and make things complex. I want you to come here and to try and give you some insight that you don't know or that you're not seeing because you're not watching the games as closely as maybe I do, or you're not around the team like I am and kind of know the ins and outs. This stuff is simple right now. The Magic aren't making shots. And look, they came out. They were determined to shoot. I like that, actually. You know, they were careful with shots they took, but they were shooting confidently. And again, I agree with Jamal Mosley on this. Well, I don't think 41 threes is the right number. I think their right number is like 36, 37, 38 threes at most. 41, this is the 16th time they've taken 40 or more threes this season. They played 44 games. They're 7-9 in those games. So again, it's a mixed bag whether taking more threes is good or not. If they are the right shots, you need to take them. I'm sorry. I know the Magic aren't a great shooting team. The process of the way the Magic get threes is typically very good. We'll see what the stats say about that at the end of after the game or on tomorrow. But you have to keep shooting. You can't abandon the 3-point line. It's too important in the NBA. It's too hard to, if you're going to be a low volume shooting team, and Denver is a low volume shooting team, they're 7 for 25. You better be elite offensively everywhere else. The 3-pointer is still the great equalizer, and the Magic especially cannot afford to give that up. 3-point shooting is actually what kept them in the lead and kept them in this game. Again, I would agree. They were 12 for 41. That's 29.3%. 41 3-point attempts is probably a little too much. There are definitely some moments where the Magic took rush threes, where the Magic took threes that were off balance. Those are the threes you got to get rid of. If it doesn't come from a paint touch, the Magic should not be shooting that three. Plain and simple. They're just not a good enough shooting team to take pull-ups, to do step backs, to do the crazy ones, to do the quick one-pass threes. Magic still have way too many of those. But again, Orlando built as big as a 10-point lead in the first half. because they were making threes. They made them kind of in bunches, and that was a big start. They were 4 of their first 10. Like, they were making shots. And so maybe that was a little bit of fool's gold. Maybe the Magic got a little too fat and happy on threes. They struggled to get in the paint. Denver's pretty good at defending the paint. Again, Orlando is searching for something. And so it was tough because at the end of the day, the Magic just didn't make shots. 37.3%. They were 38 for 102. Getting 102 shots is really good. That means the Magic are forcing turnovers, getting offensive rebounds, getting a ton of extra possessions. That's a good thing. When we get the game score, we're probably going to see the Magic expected shot total was pretty good and good enough to win the game. So if you're a process versus results guy, like I am, the Magic are doing a lot of right things. Is it right for this team? Is it right for this moment? Fair thing to debate. Fair thing to ask. Fair thing to wonder if the Magic are maximizing their roster or maximizing their team. But again, teams are going to dare this team to shoot, and unless the Magic find ways to get other guys open, that's going to be the challenge. The biggest challenge offensively in this game was, frankly, Paolo Banchero did not play well enough. I don't know what it was. He looked out of it. Just even tracking him on defense, just really not paying attention on defense, really just not playing with the intensity that the Magic need from their team leader. And honestly, like, this has been as big of a problem over the last 3 games, and it's not entirely his fault. He's working his way back into the rotation. But you're going to take cues from your team leader. Like, I'm sorry, if you are a leader on the team, your energy trickles down to everyone else. The reason why the Magic were able to survive when Franz Wagner was out was Jalen Suggs does not stop. Like, Jalen Suggs is going to play with energy. He could miss 15 shots. He is still going to get after you defensively, and that goes to everyone. Everybody feels that. Franz Wagner does not blink. That dude is ice. Like, he is not, he typically doesn't let things affect him. He just keeps coming at you. The team took on that personality. Paolo Banchero usually has that intensity. He has that determination to get to the basket. He's very calm and collected. Right now, it feels like he's just a little lackadaisical. And frankly, like, the way I described it watching him play throughout the first half was it felt like he was playing his own game. Like, he was worried about working himself in, and he just happened to be in a basketball game with teammates. The 34-point effort against Milwaukee, everything felt very natural. The Magic weren't running a ton of things for him. The ball found him. He took his opportunities when they were there. He wasn't trying to do too much. Right now, it looks like he's either trying to test himself, which he needs to do, but trying to do too much. And frankly, in this game, it didn't feel like he was trying to do very much at all. Just really forcing everything. I made this joke to someone I was with. He had Christian Braun on him or Russell Westbrook on him throughout much of the first half. Didn't attack him in the post at all. Didn't really try to attack them downhill or set himself up in an area where the defense would have to react to him. And the second half, he'd get Aaron Gordon on him, and he'd try and attack Aaron Gordon. This really kind of baffling decision-making. Paolo Banchero scored 10 points, 4 for 16 shooting. I'll give him a ton of credit. Was great on the glass, 7 rebounds. His rebounding looked good. Found his passing a little bit in the second half when the game was already decided with 5 assists. Had a couple steals, had a couple blocks. So he did do some good things defensively. I don't want to say it completely, but it was a real inattentive game. And again, that's what this is all about. It's all about details. It's all about doing the right thing and doing it consistently over the course of a 48-minute game. And it just wasn't there for him the whole game. And again, you could feel that go to everybody else. Again, no one really, it was good to see Tristan Silva get some points. He had 12 points, 5 for 10 shooting, caught a couple stitches on a block by Peyton Watson. Wendell Carter, I thought, did some good things as well. 16 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. He had 3 steals. I actually thought he defended Nikola Jokic pretty well. Jokic was finished with 20 points, 10 assists, 14 rebounds, had 2 turnovers, was 7 for 9. He made his shots, got some deep post position, but I thought Carter was a good impediment. Jokic just made shots, and Jokic worked around the basket when Carter had to leave to help. But again, you saw how Carter struggles with taller players. Really couldn't explode up past guys underneath the basket when he got rebounds. A rough game on that front. But again, he stayed active. I didn't have a problem with the way Wendell Carter played. in this one. Cole Anthony, 9 points, 4 for 13 shooting. Usually the Magic need Paolo to get to 20, and they need someone else to get to 20. No one got to 20 tonight for the Magic. It explains a lot. Orlando struggled there. Kenny was super aggressive. 12 points, finished with 4 for 14 shooting, 2 for 7 from 3. So really hunting his shot, trying to maybe prove a point. I like his aggressiveness. I think he needs to get more shots. He had only 5 against Boston, so getting 14 is a little excessive, but I like the attitude there. But again, just missing shots. It could be good shots, could be bad shots. Magic are just missing a lot of shots. Anthony Black was 5 for 10 for 14 points, added 5 assists, 2 turnovers. Jonathan Isaac at 10 points on 3 for 8 shooting, 6 rebounds. Held his own against Jokic, but Jokic overpowered him again. That's why I'm still very skeptical of Isaac playing center full time. Don't have a choice with it right now. He got a block on him, but Jokic out-leveraged him in the post a ton. Just not a good matchup for J.I. Again, Orlando overall shoots just 37.3%. It's going to be hard to win against an elite offensive team like Denver. Holding Denver to 113 points is pretty good. Let me get the Let me get the actual offensive rating real fast. Give me 1 second to refresh my page here. The Nuggets finished with a 116.5 offensive rating. Orlando just 102. 116.5 is not the Magic standard. Let's just make that 100% clear. The defense was good at forcing turnovers, forced 21 turnovers for 23 points. They were disruptive, which was good, but they fouled. Denver had 31 free throw attempts. They were 26 to 31. Orlando committed 19 fouls to Denver 16. Orlando only had 16 free throws. They were 12 of 16. So big, Orlando, like I said, had a 15-point advantage on three-pointers. Gave that completely away at the foul line. Denver made 14 additional free throws. Denver's really good at getting to the foul line. Orlando, usually very good, did not do a good job in this game. And again, defense just never found its rhythm. They got turnovers. They were good on that front. But once Denver figured it out, once Denver had that big run, it was over. And you could just tell it was over. The Magic just really didn't have it. So another game where the Magic kind of run out of steam. That's been a theme for the last week and a half. Injuries have just really taken their toll. No one wants to use it as an excuse, but they do acknowledge that it is a thing, that the Magic are just undermanned and down so many key players. And Orlando just doesn't have the gas right now to get there. They don't have the gas to defend enough to keep teams to 100, which is a necessity. They don't have the gas to score 120 when they need to. Paolo's just not at that level yet. He'll get there. I think he's still making progress. I don't want to speculate too much, but he looked sick. And I know there's an illness going around. I think there's an illness going around the team. And Corey Joseph was dealing with an illness last week. Would not surprise me if there's an illness going around the team. That's why things just feel off right now. But that gets me back to the big point. I want to circle back. I asked Jamal Mosley about some perspective on considering this team is exactly where they were last year. Let's zoom out and take a look at the big picture. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Orlando Magic are 23-21. As we sit here at the conclusion of games on January 19th, 2025, the Magic are now in 7th in the Eastern Conference. In the play-in, we understood, and I think a lot of us acknowledged that before the season that the race for the playoffs would be very, very tight. Every game would matter. The players all said we wanted to avoid the kind of losses we suffered on the random Tuesday in January. They said that exact word. We're in January. It's not a random Tuesday. It's a random Sunday. They want to avoid the losses on the random Tuesday in January that ultimately cost them a chance at home court advantage and really a chance to be the 3 seed over the final week of the season. They wanted to build cushion so that they could accomplish their goals and maybe have some mistakes and recover. The Magic last year were 23-21. They actually fell to 23-22. It was the closest they got to being under 500 the entire season. They played the entire season over 500. The Magic at that point, when they were 23-21, were, sorry, I'm going to pull it up here. I got my standings by date on Basketball Reference. When the Magic were 23-21, they were 8th in the Eastern Conference. They trailed the Heat and Pacers for 6th. They were 3 wins behind the Knicks for 5th. They obviously finished ahead of some of these teams. Philadelphia faded with their injuries. Indiana faded a bit. Miami faded a bit. There is a long way to go. And Orlando is only 2.5 games back of the Milwaukee Bucks for 4th. They are not out of the race by any means. They have been here before. Again, it was this time last year that the Magic were struggling. They had all these injuries that had built up over the course of the season. They had suffered that heartbreaking loss to the Atlanta Hawks on a buzzer beater. They smashed the Miami Heat, came home January 22nd for game 44 against the Cavs, and got beat up in that back-to-back. Cavs just outshot them, blew them out of the building. Then they went to Memphis, lost by 1 in a game that was extremely disappointing because that was the wake-up call. Even then, Orlando didn't really get going until the end of January 31st, when they barely beat the San Antonio Spurs. That started a 3-game win streak. That started winning 5 of 6. That started winning 8 of 10. And then things started to build and build and build. And you could feel the team getting healthy. And you could feel the team starting to find its groove again. All of that is still possible. All of that is not only still possible, it feels extremely likely. Because yes, unlike last year when there's very much a new team trying to figure things out, and the Magic had their stars, but they were, again, just so new to winning every day. This year, the Magic don't have any of that. Paolo is still working himself back from injury. Franz Wagner was going through the ankle injury at the time of the Magic kind of hitting their low of the season. But when he came back, the team started to pick up speed. The Magic were, compared to this year, the Magic were relatively healthy when they hit that low point last year. And that remains the big hope. That Orlando has the experience to continue to improve and continue to recover. They are not out of this race at all. It is a bad moment. Every team's going to go through it. And right now, the Magic are going through it. And it feels heavy because A, the Magic don't look anything recognizable to what we know they can be. B, the Magic aren't competitive and got blown out in 3 straight games against contending teams. We'll consider Milwaukee a contender for the sake of this argument. Against contending teams, the Magic did not look anywhere near prepared to play them or anywhere near able to compete with them. But here's the thing. We know the schedule is going to lighten up here in the next week. The Magic play Toronto. Toronto, again, they beat Boston last week. I'm not saying sleep on them. I don't think this Magic team right now, with the talent they have, is capable of looking past anybody. But Toronto is 10-32. They got 10 wins. They're 14th in the East. They got Portland coming to their building on Thursday. Portland is 14-28. A potent offensive team. Do not get me wrong. Don't sleep on these teams. But these are teams you can make mistakes against. Even Detroit, 21-21. A solid team. Played 2 fewer games in Orlando. They got to go 2-0 in those games to match Orlando's 23-21 record. That is a team the Magic should feel like they can beat. Especially if, as we expect, Franz Wagner is very likely to come back. I wouldn't say very likely. I have no reporting, but Saturday's game is the game I'm pegging for Franz Wagner to return. Right now, all Orlando needs is a shot of confidence. And that could come from their players returning from injury. That could come from just having a good game. Having the ability to make mistakes, figure things out, and find success. You cannot make mistakes against Denver. You cannot make mistakes against Boston. You cannot make mistakes against Milwaukee. Even when you're healthy, you have to play well to beat those teams. Orlando's just not capable right now of doing that. Playing well is very hard. Toronto, again, no offense to our friends with the Raptors, you can make some mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You can find a way, and that, more than anything else, is the breath the Magic need. Now, Orlando's got to beat Toronto. Like Tuesday, it's too early to say call it a must-win game, but they got to win that game. It's always tough to win on the road, but they got to win that game. They got to believe they got to win that game. They can't press like they got to win that game, but they got to win that game. And Orlando has to continue to establish its dominance because the schedule is still set up for them to succeed. And they know they're about to get healthy again. And if you go and talk and listen to that locker room, there's frustration for sure, but there's not panic. Because they had been there before. They had been in this exact spot before. Now, the cushion the Magic wanted to build and the cushion the Magic talked about throughout the entire preseason and training camp was to avoid this exact situation. They did not want to be here again. But now that they are, now that they're here, they, more than anyone else, should know they can recover. They can get out of this. They can still accomplish all of their goals. They've been here before, and this is not the time for panic. Nobody should be panicking in that locker room. In fact, I would still describe the vibe as pretty optimistic and pretty hopeful. They got to find their way, but they know what these games are. They knew what these opponents were, and they know what's coming in the next week. It does, maybe that's caused them to relax and need to find that urgency again, but we're almost to the end of this road. We're almost to that light at the end of the tunnel. And if this team is as good as they seem to show throughout much of this season, the Magic will be fine. And they'll copy what they did last year. Whether that is enough to satisfy everyone, well, that feels like a topic that we need to discuss in more depth on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them may send a podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if all that's not enough, now your favorite podcast has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Like I said, on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we'll talk about whether this trough, this valley, has caused the Magic to change their trade deadline strategy and how we evaluate the season. We'll get to that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.